Hi everyone, this is Dave from Geekanoids and this is my full review of the Kodak Playtouch video camera. Now you will have seen over the last month I've been uploading all of my video footage captured with one of these Kodak Playtouches. Well, that project is now coming to an end and I wanted to bring you a full review and a close-up look of the Kodak Playtouch. Now this is the camera itself. I'm going to be showing you that in greater detail in a while. I want to show you what else you get inside the box. You also get this really great instruction manual, and this shows some different colours of the Kodak Playtouch. Now in the UK I've only ever seen the black version, orange or chrome. Well, it does seem that in other markets you might well be able to pick it up in blue or red. But this little instruction manual is very, very good indeed, and it shows you absolutely everything you're going to need to know about the Kodak Playtouch. Now also in the box you get some warranty information and also information about the sharing features for your footage. You also get a really nice little pouch to keep the Kodak Playtouch in when it's not in use. You get a lanyard strap, which is great for putting around your wrist so you don't drop it whilst you're out and about. You also get an AV cable for outputting to a sort of standard definition TV, and you also get an HDMI cable for outputting to those high definition LCD or plasma screens. And last but not least, you get a country specific charger. Now to go with the charger you get a USB cable. It's used for charging the battery inside the camera. Now I've got a UK model, so I get a 3-pin UK plug on here, but it is a multi-voltage one, so you can sort of pull this apart and put different ends on it. Now back to the camera and let's take a closer look at the Kodak Playtouch. So let's take a look at the physical aspects of the Kodak Playtouch. Now this is the front of the unit. Here we've got the lens, very nice HD quality lens. To the left of the lens we've got the microphone pickup, and then this flap here actually pulls down, and this is where the battery resides. Now you do actually charge the Click 7004 battery inside the camera. Now let's take a look at this side. This is where some of the connections reside. If I open up this little flap here, we've got access to a pop-out USB cable. Now you pull this down and pull the cable up like so, and you can plug that direct into your computer. We've also got DC input here. This is where you're going to put that USB charger, and then just here we've got that HDMI output for outputting your footage to a high definition screen. Just above this we've got that AV connection for that sort of standard definition output to a normal TV. Round on the bottom here we've got a standard tripod mount and that connection there for the lanyard wrist strap. And then round on this side we've got the power on off button, and then we've got another flap which we can open, and that reveals the SD card slot. Now the Kodak Playtouch has got some internal memory. It's got 128 megabytes to get you going, but this slot does support up to a 32 gigabyte SDHC card, and that's good for round about 10 hours of HD video capture. And now round onto the top we've got a couple of extra bits here. We've got a 3.5mm jack here, and this doubles up as either a headphone output or an external microphone input. And then last but not least we've got a switch here which is very interesting. This is what we use to switch the lens mode from sort of a wide angle landscape view, and we can switch it over to macro mode to pick up even more detail in what we're recording. Let's go round onto the back of the camera. The only physical button we can see here is this one here, and this is used for starting and stopping recordings. We've got a little speaker here as well, this little speaker grill for the sound output. And the reason there's so few buttons on the Kodak Playtouch is because the actual interface is a touchscreen. So with the camera switched on we can gain access to the settings, and we can scroll through the various settings and make changes as we want. We can even set things like digital image stabilization off or on, and all different settings in here that you can configure how the Kodak Playtouch is going to perform. Now let me just come out of that menu and just let you know that this actually captures HD video footage up to 1080p at 30 frames per second, though during my tests I did find that the 720p footage was more pleasing to watch. So I just want to take another look at this lens for you on the front of the Kodak Playtouch. Now at its widest angle it is a 33mm field of view, and I also mentioned on the top here we've got the switch for changing between macro mode and sort of landscape mode. Now I've popped a watch down on my table here underneath the camera, and at the moment I'm in the landscape mode, but if I switch the lens over to macro mode you'll see that all of a sudden it does pick out a lot more detail in the watch, and this is great for picking up sort of very fine detail in what you're recording, and you can get as close as 15 centimeters between the subject you're recording and the front of the lens. That's great for picking up all those really fine details. So let me cover off my dislikes of the Kodak Playtouch first. Now the low light performance, you will have seen that very early on in the Kodak Playtouch project, so sort of about mid-January, that the low light performance was not great. But once I added in a couple of these LED video lights for indoor recording, the quality improved a great deal. So although it's a dislike, it is manageable if you think about your lighting. Now when you're recording outdoors it's not so much of a problem. It does perform extremely well in good sunlight and is great for sort of family holidays. The other thing I dislike was the fact that the battery charges inside the camera. I would suggest that you pick up an extra battery and an external charger so that you can continue recording whilst you're charging that spare. Now that said, battery life is still decent, and that brings me on to the things that I like about the Kodak Playtouch. You get round about an hour and a half to 2 hours of recording from a full charge. I also like the 3-inch touchscreen. I just turn the camera on again and you can see the user interface here. It actually switches round orientations as you tilt the camera. So you've got all the buttons here for playing back, for going into settings, etc. If I go into playback quickly, you'll see the playback user interface. Here's something I recorded earlier of that watch, and I can trim the recording, I can share it, I can play it back and delete it. Let me just set it playing. So the user interface just works extremely well, and I think they've done a good job of the UI on the Playtouch. I also like the macro switch that I showed you during that recording of the watch. I think that works extremely well and picks out some superb detail in what you're recording. I also think that one of the biggest plus points of this camera is the input here. Now you can use it for headphones. I've been using it for testing all different sorts of external microphones. The favourite one that I used during my Kodak Playtouch project was this Sony clone microphone. I started off by saying you can pick this up for under a tenner, but I believe you can pick this up for around about £4 if you search around on the likes of eBay. It improves the sound quality a great deal, so I would recommend picking up something like this or another external microphone to use with the Kodak Playtouch. Now if you want to see footage that I've captured with this throughout the last month, then there is a link to a playlist that contains all of the videos that I recorded with this little camera. Pricing next, £169. Just shows you what you can get for your money nowadays. That is a fantastic price, and if you shop around you can pick it up for just under $150. If you're in the US, expect to pay around about the $170 mark. And in closing, I just want to say it's been a joy using the Kodak Playtouch. It really shows you that with a little bit of thought into your lighting and your camera setup, you really can capture decent quality HD video on a budget. Well, thank you very much for watching. Please do come back soon and check out more video reviews on the Geekanoids channel. This video review is sponsored by EasyDraw, making drawing fun on Mac OS X.